Elena, it's so wonderful to be in conversation with you. This has been a long time coming, and we've known each other for what, 6 years, and this is our first proper official interview. And
Been
so,
too long. This has been like it had to happen, you know what I mean?
yeah, it was definitely a long time coming. But a huge congratulations to you because you're starring in Egg Villain Returns, which is the big Bollywood release this week. So, tell me about your experience of working on that film. I mean, Mohit Suri is definitely quite a champion when it comes to romantic thrillers. So, what was your experience like working with him and the entire cast of the film?
So me, obviously, I mean, it's Egg Villain Returns. You know, Egg Villain, the first film was like a huge smash hit. And now this one, I just know it will be a smash hit as well. I mean, working with Mohit Suri, he's like a phenomenal director, and his whole team, Anshul, Amal, like everyone was just such a pleasure to work with. Obviously, I worked alongside Arjun and Tara, and it was honestly such a pleasure. And I definitely learned a lot. I pushed myself as an actor, and I literally can't wait for everyone to see the film.
Wonderful. So tell me a bit about your role actually in the film. What was your character? What did your character involve, and how grey would you say your character is in comparison to all the other sort of darkish characters that we've seen in the trailer?
So for me, I feel that my character brings that little bit of light-hearted comedy to the film.
Oh wow.
I did very different also to my personality. I would describe my character as kind of like a bimbo. But it was really nice because I was challenged to do a song, plus you're dancing with that song, plus you're singing with that song, and and you're acting. So it's like a lot. So I was definitely pushed by Mohit, but I feel that everyone was really patient because obviously Hindi is not my first language, but you
Mhm.
sit and you learn and you learn. And then you have the choreography to learn and you learn and you learn and you learn. And then you just go
Right.
out there and just block everything out. And yeah, my character is definitely different to who I am as a person. Complete opposite, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it is actually. I mean, I've known you for a while, and I think it's very interesting to see you play such a role. But I think what I find very fascinating about Egg Villain is, especially the first film, it basically sort of shows and that whole transition of how one can either be a hero or a villain in your life, or even both. And I think that's the sort of vibe I'm getting from the sequel as well. So
I
tell me,
think
Elena. Yeah.
I think very fine line at times, and you can use it in your kind of everyday life. That it's difficult at times to see who is the hero and who's the villain because there's such a fine line between good and evil. And I feel that given the current climate and everything that's happened, it's difficult to see long term, who's trying to save you and who's trying to destroy you.
Mm.
So I think touches on that like a lot. And I'm just so happy to be part of it. And I feel that my character is more of the kind of light-hearted comedic part to it.
And I guess you need that, right, in a film like
Yeah,
this, because obviously it just can't be heavy. Like it has to be a bit of a breather. You need a bit of that sigh of relief, isn't it?
no, definitely. I think like especially given the current climate, you want that little bit of comedy or that little bit of humor because you want your audience to take the message seriously, but you also want to kind of make them laugh. You don't want them leaving the theater super depressed. You
Mhm.
still want, that engagement of kind of positivity and humor.
Right, right. So I think, as I was saying actually about that whole hero villain equation and how a person can either be both or either of those things in our lives. Uh, Name me a time in your life, Elena, where perhaps circumstances was the villain and how you basically had to overcome that situation and become the hero of that situation.
I mean, I would think definitely because you know me on a personal level, I would say recently, I would say that it's people closest to you that can actually end up being the ones that don't wish you well, and you'll find that it's strangers that actually have your best interests at heart because it's always those closest to you that will hurt you. And I feel that someone who I thought was a hero was actually a villain. And how I overcame it was I had great friends like yourself and so many others that kind of lifted me out of that situation. And, it's a process, it's a journey, but day by day, I just feel better and happier. And, I think in life, everything happens for a reason. And I think what was my lesson to learn from it? And it was more about the more I grow, like in terms of my platform, the more careful I have to be aware of like who I let into my circle and not be so swept up by an idea of, someone being so amazing when sadly that just wasn't the case.
It's very tough. It's very tough, and I must say, but you're even tougher. So that's a good thing. You're
Yeah,
definitely resilient. So I
yeah,
must give you that. Um, but I think, the fact that you're a law graduate, you're
yeah,
very, very, you did really well, I think, in terms of your academic studying. And of course, you have a very successful modeling career. You've worked in Bollywood extensively. Kapoor and Sons, I think, was one of your initial sort of featured roles with Fawad Khan. So
so
in
lovely as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to what extent do you think I think has life and the sort of process you've had hardened
Mhm.
you as well in the process of everything, Elena?
I feel that the older you get, more invested you get in your career, the more you realize, there's obviously politics involved. People love to play games. There's ego involved. But of course, then there are really lovely people. But I feel like if you want to be in the fashion or film business, as a woman, you have to have really tough skin. But then again, I would apply that to everyday life because you don't just, for example, get sleaze in the entertainment industry. You get it in all walks of life.
Mm,
Um, so it's about being resilient uh, and perseverance, to be honest with you. If this is whatever your dream is, you have to keep pushing and you push through everything. You can cry and scream for an hour, but then you dust yourself off and you get back up, That's
mhm.
the main thing. And I just feel like the only person that can stop you from achieving your dream is yourself. The worst anyone can ever say in life is no. So let them say no and knock on another door, knock on 100 doors. You keep on going. Just because you get one no doesn't mean your career is over. You keep
Right.
going, 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 going. Try different markets. You give it your all.
Hmm. And I think it's even interesting because you're half South American and half Indian. But I still always call you the Desi girl because I feel like every time we've spoken, I've always spoken to you in Hindi, and you always react back to me like, yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I love that actually about the sort of cultural background that you've had.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to Bollywood though in particular, I've also noticed that if there is someone who is, let's just say, light skinned, or someone who isn't fully Indian but has some sort of Western roots, I feel like they've often been bracketed to doing like either item girl songs, or they've done some very like sort of side-ish sort of roles here and there. For you to actually fight against that, I mean, has there been a fight for you of that sort against the stereotypes?
No, I do agree with you. I feel just you do face a lot of barriers, but then you just keep on going. Like that's it. You just have to. And it's just if they're gonna give me an item song, I will take that item song and I will do something extra with it. I will PR the hell out of it.
Mhm.
So I'm not the sort of there's no, I want like a lead role only, otherwise I'm not doing it. If you want to stereotype me and give me a smaller role because of how I look, I will take that and I will take it to the next level. So people think that they can give you like a scrap here, a scrap there, but I'm like, I'll take that scrap and I'll turn it into like a freaking like mountain.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Nora Fatehi, for example. I mean, what a great example she is. I mean, the fact that she's literally come from Canada also, she's adapted herself to the Indian culture and literally learned the language. And I think the same goes for you also. The way you've really adapted yourself and really understood, because obviously I think your dad is from Goa. So
Yeah.
obviously for you, India is home for you essentially as well, right? So if you could actually perhaps talk a bit about some of the influences of maybe how Indian cinema has had a major sort of influence in your life, or has it had a major influence in your life,
I
actually?
Now it's like I really enjoy watching Bollywood films. Growing up in London, I wasn't really exposed much apart from kind of like in the cuisine of like my Indian roots. It wasn't until I actually got to India and really got stuck in doing my charity work and obviously working, that's when I feel that my love for the country really kind of blossomed because I'm deeply like invested in it, especially with my charity work, that it's
Mhm.
kind of like it's a part of me. I have my whole team over there, and I just couldn't imagine not having a relationship with India.
Right, that's so wonderful. So I think when you sort of work in the industry right now, like we're seeing some great works of cinema
Yeah.
emerge, on the OTT space, and I think even theatrical. Yeah.
Because I feel like audiences want more. They don't want half-assed acting anymore. They don't want ridiculous kind of plots and things like that. They want things with substance. They want depth. They want a story. They want to see good actors. They don't want to see, a half-assed like nepotism, like, sort of like theater. They want to see something that they're thoroughly going to enjoy. And, it's about respecting the audience as well. You don't want to kind of serve them up rubbish.
Yes, exactly. No, definitely. I completely agree with you. So, what sort of work are you looking, or do you draw inspiration from? Like when we talk about Indian cinema generally, not just in Bollywood, but because as you know, the South is fantastic, and it's great that finally they're getting that due and that appreciation they rightfully deserve. Exactly.
Definitely.
So who
I mean,
would, yeah.
so I mean, I think for me, I draw on some of my favorite actors are like Meryl Streep, Tom Hanks. I love a lot of Ashwarya's earlier work. I also I do like Kangana's work. I think she's a phenomenal actress. I like Rajkumar Rao. I like Ayushman. I love Ranveer. Like, obviously, I think he's exactly like a chameleon. He just constantly like changes. And I've watched him perform once, and he's just honestly phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've even done a photo shoot with him as
Yeah.
well, didn't you? That was a while back, but that was amazing as well.
Yeah. Cover of Maxim together. But honestly, I think he's so incredibly like talented, like always full of high energy. And it's just he really captivates you as an actor.
Yeah, definitely. No, absolutely. And this is great work.
So
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah, for sure, definitely. But I think it's wonderful because you've obviously worked with some really huge brands, I think modeling brands. When we talk about magazines, you've done GQ, I think Harper's Bazaar, you've done Vogue, you've
L, Cosmopolitan,
done all the
FHM.
big.
Yeah, I've done all of them. In terms
Yeah.
of campaigns, any bigger than I did the Adidas Originals campaign for America. So it's like,
Wow.
yeah. So that's why it makes me laugh when people just say, "Oh, you're an influencer. You just show body." I'm like, dude, go check my volume of work, okay?
Yeah,
My
no,
volume
definitely.
of, yeah.
Absolutely. But what does beauty mean to you? Because I think obviously, we're in this time where I feel because of the whole Instagram sort of culture that we're in, the whole influencer culture, because you and I both are kind of influencers in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a lot more than I am. But in terms of that whole thing, I
Mhm.
feel like people judge beauty for looks a lot more than before
Yeah.
nowadays. How difficult, what does beauty actually mean to you, and how would you like to tell people what your meaning of beauty is?
I mean, for me, beauty is very personal. I think it's about how you feel. I mean, there's obviously like visual beauty, and that's kind of like the very kind of boring stereotype of like, what like you've grown up on that, like guys want to see boobs and ass and women want to see just like heavy muscles and stuff. Whereas beauty in itself is something so personal. It's about how beautiful your soul is. I've met some of the most beautiful people in my career, and I find them truly ugly because their personalities and their souls are so dark that I'm like, I don't find you beautiful. For me, it's about what's in here rather than like what's out there. And I know people will say, oh, you can say that because of how you look. And I'm like, actually, my biggest asset is the fact that I know I have a beautiful soul. I know I have a beautiful heart because I know me. I don't need someone to justify or validate me by saying, oh, yeah, you're pretty, or oh, no, you're not pretty. I know who I am. And I know I've got a good soul. I know I've got a pure soul. And that will always radiate out of you.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel that sometimes people fear that? The fact that, because when
Yeah.
one is so assured and when one is so aware of their real selves, do you feel that a lot of people around you kind of
Yeah.
start to question you a lot and basically try to throw mud at you because you're so fully
Yeah.
awakened?
I feel like the more self-aware you are and you know your value and your worth, people will try and bring you down. People will say that you're aggressive or you're too assertive, but they wouldn't say that to a man, but it's fine to say it to a woman. Whereas I've done and funded my own like legal education and things like that. I've worked my ass off to get to where I am today. So when I win an award, I'm like, yeah, I thank me because I did it. I grafted like every hour of the day, 365 days of the year. And a lot of people find that intimidating. And I'm like, no, I did well. So I'm going to praise myself for doing well. We're always taught that, you shouldn't, it's arrogance to say, yeah, I look good. No, I look damn good because I worked my ass off to look like this. and I'm not going to have anyone take it away from me by saying, oh, she's a narcissist or this or that, just because they're so intimidated by the fact that I know my value and I know my worth. And a lot of people do find that intimidating. But again, that's a them problem. That's not a me problem. That's their problem.
Mm-hmm. I think also the fact that with the film industry, I think we were talking about this just earlier on in beginning of our chat. Again, it's about, how because obviously there's a lot of talks, like the Me Too movement that was there in Bollywood. Unfortunately, it's kind of it's quietened down a lot, I think, when it comes to the film industry. And I think it's a shame that it has quietened down because I think there's so many issues that still need to be addressed and stuff. But when it comes to speaking out against certain wrongdoings within the film industry, how tough is it to actually speak out? Because I feel like it's very difficult because you're fighting against an entire empire. So how tough is it, do you think, for you? Like,
I mean, I think it's very tough for both men and women. I mean, you'll always be up against someone who is more powerful than you. You'll always be up against someone who is in a stronger position than you. And then each thing is like personal to the individual as to how you handle it. And I think whether it's in film and entertainment or whether it's in your day-to-day life, like, if you're working in a shop and your boss blackmails you and things like that. I'm a great believer in karma, and I believe in my faith. I'm Catholic, and I just believe that I know that I've like walked away from situations and things like that, but I know everyone's not in that position too. But I believe like at times you have to believe and do what is the right thing to do and be
right.
able to have that on your.
Very well said. But obviously, because you're a graduate in law,
Yeah.
when you perhaps work in films or when you work on certain movies which may be of a criminal nature, or perhaps it revolves around a very strong social topic, or maybe something that you might actually see, does the lawyer in you ever kick in? Does the lawyer instincts ever kick in?
Like that's legally like wrong. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense, because I feel that if you're going to tell a story, whether it's make believe or not, tell it right. Because the thing is that people these days, for example, they use social media and they get all their information from social media. So I've had people say to me, oh no, something is like murder. And I'm like, do you even understand what it means to charge someone with murder? Do you understand about actus reus and mens rea? Like all these sorts of things.
Oh yeah.
And it's, yeah, there's like misinformation and things like that. And I just feel like people don't take the time to go out there and educate themselves. Like it's not hard, but the thing is, it takes work to be able to go and do that. And that's what the problem is. People will just see something and be like, yeah, that's the truth. I'm like, no, you see a piece of information, you go and research it yourself, and then you form an opinion on it, you know?
Yeah, I feel like we also live in an era where it is all about the WhatsApp news, There's such it's an epidemic. I feel like this whole fake news situation is an epidemic. Like literally I get so many stories every time and I get asked about certain things and I'm just like, is it actually even true? If like a well-known publication hasn't published it, is it even news?
I don't even engage. Like most of the time, I'm like, if I want to know something, I'll just go and just research it myself.
Exactly.
Otherwise, day and age, you can't have a debate with people because it's either their way is right or it's no way. And I'm just like, but that's not how it works. Just you should be able to have a healthy discussion. You should be able to engage in debate. You can have people who are your friends that don't necessarily have the same viewpoints as you, and that's fine. Like I would hate for all my friends to be like copies of me. I would hate it. I would find it so boring. My friends think different things on religion, or my friends think different things on COVID or vaccines and all those sorts of things. I don't want yes people. I want people who are going to challenge me. That's how you grow, when you're challenged.
Right. But I think when it comes to social media, though, one thing that is really heavy about social media, I think, is the trolling that I think public figures face.
I mean,
Uh,
I think disgusting, and I personally think that people should face severe penalties for trolling, because you don't know like what a person is going through, and people do a lot of blackmail with trolling and things like that. And I think honestly it's despicable that people think that they can hide behind a screen and bully another individual. Like I know in the UK they introduced new laws around 2 years ago. It was called I think it's the miscommunications or misinformation. I can't remember about it. And there are stringent punishment. I know in India they take it very seriously, because you can't just think, oh, I'm hiding behind a computer, they can't track me down. Yes, they can. And I honestly feel that you should be reprimanded for it. You know, you have to be responsible for your actions, for what you say, because every action has a reaction.
Right, absolutely. And I think this is where I really appreciate very popular actors like Deepika Padukone, for example, in Bollywood, who has really been vocal about mental health awareness
Yeah.
and has really started the conversation about it. Because I feel like somehow mental health just isn't, especially when it comes to the South Asian diaspora and the Indian diaspora, I feel like it's great that we started these conversations, but I feel somewhere that understanding just isn't there. I feel like, people think that it's the thing that you can just snap out of, and
Yeah,
it's
I
very
feel like people don't understand even much about mental health. They'll just have a bad day and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm depressed," and I'm like because I've been exposed to a lot of like mental health issues. I just feel that people don't really take it seriously. They just think like, "Oh, I'm having a bad day, therefore I'm depressed." I'm just like, depression is a serious like illness that should be taken seriously. And I feel, but then I also feel that a lot of people justify bad behavior by saying, "Oh, I have a mental health issue." I'm like, but that doesn't excuse you from being a piece of crap. So I feel like there should be more um awareness and education given to mental health, to be honest.
And I think, I was thinking about this the other day, Elena, and I was just thinking that, actually, when we talk about mental health and when people express that, I think also it's accountability, that actually sometimes we indirectly or directly may also be responsible, for another person's mental health issues as
But
well.
people are very selfish. I'm just like, sometimes I see people's behavior and I'm just like, but how do you think that's going to impact someone? And I just feel that people don't take responsibility anymore for their actions. And I'm just like, a person, if they're a cruel person, could really damage a fragile person, because not everyone is strong. Like
Yeah.
I'm strong for a reason, but that's because I've experienced a lot. But if, for example, something I went through recently, if I was a fragile person, God knows what could have happened,
Hmm.
because I think people need to be aware that if you're to another human being, you should be responsible for, the consequences of that, because sometimes if you've got nothing nice to say, just keep your mouth shut. It's not difficult. But I feel like in this current day and age, people just treat other human beings as just like they're disposable, and I honestly, I think it's disgusting.
Very true. No, I absolutely agree with you. And no one ever wants to listen anymore. Like, I mean, not to reference Joaquin Phoenix and Joker, but in the last scene, he says, nobody is civil anymore.
No.
Literally a person could be on the streets and people will just walk all over them and not even care. The compassion is lacking, I feel nowadays.
And I'm such a compassionate person that when I see other people who lack it, I'm just like, no, like I would rather not associate with them. I would rather have a tiny circle of people who have a heart than those that don't. Like,
Right.
honestly, but these days there's a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing. And because I'm a very forgiving and I always like to see the best in people, I do get burnt a lot. But you live and you learn. And I just think, something, if you used me, then you probably needed love at that time. So I don't regret the love I gave you, but now screw you,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's distancing yourself and being aware of that situation. But I think just speaking a bit more about acting, because obviously modeling is certainly no easy feat. It's not about just looking pretty and standing in front of the camera and posing. It's not like that at all. I'm aware of that because I know there's a certain skill that it takes to be a very successful model and to be a successful glamour representative. But acting is a very different ballgame. That itself is, I mean, it's an art. It's literally, it takes years of practice. What was the moment I think you realized that acting is something that I will be really good at or something that I really want to try? When was that moment for you?
I feel like I've been acting my whole life, to be honest. But no, I feel that I had such positive feedback, and I actually really enjoyed it. And then now I'm focusing more on like film and things here and in the US, and I really enjoy it. You get to meet some incredible people and read incredible scripts and become all these amazing different characters, and it's just I really, really enjoy it, to be honest with you. And I'm excited to do more and more. And I'm excited to focus now a lot more on British film and American film.
Right.
So,
How is work actually coming along for you actually in the US? If you can
uh,
shed some light. I know you often have NDAs to sign and all of that, but
obviously, I worked very well as a model in America. I worked very well here in London as a model. And now that I've made that transition and things like that, I've got great acting agents and things. It's I've met some incredible like casting directors, and everyone's really appreciated, you know, my script reads and things like that. And it's just I'm like on that final hurdle now, so I'm just like I'm really excited for kind of like what's next. And I've been traveling a lot recently because I'm a workaholic. Like they'll be like, "Oh, you have a shoot in Dubai." I'll be like, "Okay, cool. I'll do my shoot in Dubai," but then I'll also create all my content and you know things like that because you only have one life, so you might as well max out every opportunity. Like as we're talking, I can see messages coming through about India, and they're like information and things like that. So, but they can wait.
Oh wow. Okay, so you mentioned India. So have you got things lined up as well, like in terms of the Indian film side of things?
Yeah. I am going to be doing a South project. That is still happening. So I'm very excited about that. And it's with, it's more, my character is kind of, she does kind of mixed martial arts, which I'm very excited about because
Oh,
of that. There's an amazing trainer called Rakesh in Mumbai. He trains Disha, he trains Tiger. He's honestly phenomenal and he's trained me. So I have that. Then I have another film which hasn't been well. The film's been announced. My character hasn't been announced yet, but it'll be out. I can tell you when it's out. It's out in December of this year. So then people can figure out what it is. And then I've also got what else? I've got lots of traveling coming up. I've got my birthday coming up in 2 weeks.
oh
And
wow.
yeah, I'm just taking things each day at a time. You know, sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days. The important thing is you always you get up and you keep on going. That's the main thing.
Absolutely. I think, working in the South, like, we were talking about how exciting it really is to see South films really doing well. Like, I'm a big fan of like RRR, Vikram. So many great movies have released this year. Like, in fact, it really excites me whenever I find out that a film in the South language or in a non-Hindi, an Indian film comes out. I get very excited to see that. So I think for you, to sort of foray onto the space, because we've had lots of great talents. Like for example, Amy Jackson, for example, her in like most of her films that she's done are from South, and she did really well. So what are your sort of expectations, hopes, and ambitions of working in the South also?
For me, it's just to explore another market, to be honest, and take things to the next level. For me, it's always just to crack a market and just go up, 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 continue to
Right.
soar. That's great, expand my platform, be able to do more of my charity work. That's my biggest passion.
Right. And obviously you mentioned that you got another film releasing in December. Can I just ask, because I know you probably can't speak about it much, but is it a Bollywood film?
Yeah.
Oh, this is exciting. This is exciting. So, I mean, you must be in a very good space.
You'll be, I'm told, announce it. You'll be the first person I tell. And then it'll be like across everywhere. But
I
you'll be the first.
can, oh my God,
We'll
I'm very excited.
I give you the exclusive for it, like
Oh
honestly.
wow, this is great. This is so cool. Oh my God, I can't wait. I think on a final note as well, I mean, how's your charity work coming along as well? Because I know you sort of champion a lot of animal rights and children's rights as well.
So today, I actually like the reason also why I'm staying in India till next week is that I've got like a case that I filed against a vet and a shelter that caused a lot of death for like a lot of the street animals. But in terms of my own personal stuff, we had like a whole bunch of neuterings that were done today. The cats are currently in post-op. So yeah, I work hard in order to be able to do my charity work because that's what makes me the happiest, to be honest with you.
It's amazing. And animals are such pure creatures, man. Like I always call them God's purest creations. The way they are, they're just so yeah, it really hurts me whenever I see a case of animal cruelty. It really,
Oh, I feel like it's a reflection of humanity, you know? It's a
yeah,
reflection.
absolutely. No, very, very well said. But look, Elena, I think I'm really excited. And I believe I believe there's a premiere of Ek Villain Returns happening. Is that true as
It
well?
is flying to India for. It was actually supposed to happen on Wednesday and now it's happening on Thursday. So I will be leaving to India on Wednesday.
Oh wow. So how are you looking forward to meeting everyone? I mean, so in your film actually, did you share screen space with pretty much the principal cast, main of the principal cast, or was it
So mine was with Arjun and Tara.
Oh wow. Okay. So it must be really I mean, I'm sure you must be looking forward to seeing them again and John
They're
as well and
such lovely people. Like Tara loves like animals as well. And she does so much to raise like, awareness against like cruelty, like, towards animals in India. And obviously Arjun has like this gorgeous dog. So, and they're such lovely people. They made me feel so welcome like on set.
oh, I'm so happy to hear that. In fact, Tara has made her singing debut actually, I think, in Ek Villain Returns with a song called Shamat. And I'm
Yeah,
in love.
but she's got an amazing voice.
She's
She
so
really,
good. Very,
she's
very talented.
Like, she's so beautiful and she's so incredibly talented and she's so sweet. Like, she's
Oh,
such a love. Yeah.
amazing. Well, look, I cannot wait to catch Egg Villain Returns, which releases in cinemas this week. And Elena, I'm very happy. You've made me even more happier just hearing the amazing lineup of
No,
what's
I'm
coming your way.
be with you. I'm so happy. Like, really.
Definitely. I think this interview has been a very, very long time coming, but don't worry, it's the first of many. So, and what a great start to do it with such a, awaited film as well. So I'm really happy to be joined by you today, and I can't wait to catch you again and hang out with you again super soon. And wishing you all the very best for Egg Villain Returns.
So much, Anna. Thank you.
Thank
Big
you.
kisses.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.